Today, of course, it's IELTS help. Task 1, how to write a report to describe changes and differences in maps. Here is the task. The maps show changes in the extent of the Roman Empire over several centuries. Summarize the information by selecting the main features and making comparisons where relevant. Now this part, of course, is at the end of every IELTS Task 1 instruction. Let's focus on the top part. The maps show changes, so you also need to describe the difference over time. Let's have a look at the maps now. Firstly, I'll show you them quite quickly. Don't panic, just watch. Did you see what happened? In 200 BC, the Roman Empire is very small. As we go through the maps, you can see the Roman Empire becoming larger and extending to the east, to the west, to the north, and even to the south. This is in 395 AD, and the last one shows 410 AD. Now, what language will impress the examiner? So, to describe map changes over time, you need to have a variety of linking words and good time expressions, like up to, over the next number of years, from a year onwards, and by a year, comma, and then you must use past perfect. Another language feature you must show is the right verbs and the right tense. Here is a list of verbs that you might want to use for this particular task. Do you know these verbs? And can you use them in past simple and past perfect as well? You also need to be very good at using prepositions to describe location and time as well. All of these are for location. So, can you do these 3 techniques in your writing? Let's have a look at the overview. The maps compare the size of the Roman Empire from 200 BC to 410 AD. Looking at the maps as a whole, it is clear that the Roman Empire expanded greatly up to 395 AD, comma, but after this point it began to decline. It's very important in this type of overview that you focus on the most obvious difference. So looking at the maps as a whole, it is clear that, most obvious, the Roman Empire expanded up to this time, this year, but after this point, it got smaller. So you need to tell the IELTS examiner the purpose of the map and the most obvious difference. To help you do this, you can answer WH questions. When? What happened? That is the overview. Here is the second paragraph. In 200 AD, the Roman Empire was quite small, occupying what is now known as Italy and a little bit of Spain. Over the next 170 years, it extended southwards to the north of Africa and as far east as Greece and what we call Turkey today. I have a hint for you here. notice the mix of word forms. So we've got occupying, ing, and we've got extended and ed. Now just remember this one for a later paragraph. From 30 BC onwards, the empire became extensive. Remember the change in word form. Reaching Britain in the north, much of Europe, and even Egypt in the African continent. Then some differences can be observed as it started to lose territory. By 410 AD, the Romans had lost their power over parts of Europe, and the northern tip of Africa no longer belonged to them. Remember that past perfect? By 410 AD, the Romans had lost, past perfect. And there's that comment. In the last paragraph we use the word extended, but in this paragraph we use the adjective extensive. This will get you a good score in vocabulary. Here is the final paragraph. Overall, at the height of its power, the Roman Empire occupied nearly all of Europe, some of Asia and Africa, even though it used to only occupy a small territory approximately 400 years earlier. Now, you don't normally need a summary in Task 1 because Task 1 is a report, not an essay. But these maps were quite complicated, so this fourth paragraph is useful in this task. Don't forget, every IELTS Task 1 text, you must show your ability to compare and contrast. So practice using even though, whereas, while, in contrast, or however. This is essential that you can use these well. Notice this text had 4 paragraphs, an overview. In the next paragraph, the student told the examiner what happened in the beginning. In the third paragraph, what happens next. And finally, there was a summary. And of course, you need to use appropriate linking techniques between the paragraphs to signal the change in topic, in this case, the change to the next map. Here is the whole text. I won't read it again. You can pause this video and read it carefully by yourself. But notice, the whole text is 183 words because there were 4 maps and there was quite a bit of information. Can I just remind you, at the beginning we have, it is clear that, the most obvious difference. And at the end, overall, the clearest feature. This is another extremely important thing for Task 1. You have to identify the main features. So, I wish you all the best if you get to compare maps in your IELTS exam.